Hello, welcome to Building It for Success. I'm Caiaphas, and today I have Zamokuhle Thwala, the co-founder and CEO at AgriCool Finance. He has a startup that helps smallholder farmers to access the market for their farm produce and also microfinancing opportunities to support crop production. Through their business, they intend to eradicate the exploitation of smallholder farmers, improve food quality, and also empower the farmers to improve their profit margins and household income. So Zamokuhle graduated with an agriculture engineering degree from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and because of his passion for entrepreneurship and also that he was a smallholder farmer himself while studying, he immediately started AgriKool as a business that solves some of the challenges that he encountered when he was a farmer. His business intends to make farming cool and fashionable. So Zamokuhle, thank you so much for coming over to speak to me about you and your business. It's really my pleasure to have you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I see that AgriKool is quite an interesting business model. Can you please tell me more about you and your business and how you got to do what you're doing now?
So basically what you do at AgriKool, we are an online B2B marketplace. Basically what you do, we have partnered with some retailers like your Boxer, Save, Farm Fresh, and we've also organized an informal market. We've organized a group of hawkers in the CBD. We sell these produce directly to them. So it's a business-to-business model where we as a business help these farmers link them with access to markets where they sell their produce directly to businesses. So we also link them also with an access to finance where we've created a holistic system where we enable people to farm without getting their hands dirty by investing in farming, by lending their money to farmers. And later when the produce is ready, it's taken to market and sold to the markets, and that's when they get their money back plus profit. So we have identified these two key challenges in the agri-value chain, which is lack of access to markets and lack of access to finance. So that those are the two problems that you are solving.
So who are your main target farmers in South Africa?
Mostly in South Africa, we're working with your smallholder farmers because we are more of an impact startup. So we are all about impact and helping these smallholder farmers improve their household income. As you would know that in access to market, there's a lot of bureaucracy. So it's been a challenge for smallholder farmers to have access to market. So what you're trying to help them with is to have them playing some part in the mainstream economy where they start to supply your retailers, your Shoprite or your Boxer and many other retailers. So our targets, we're targeting smallholder farmers. However, we also have a lot of medium-sized to commercial farmers in our platform or in our database.
Sounds good. So now when I listen to your business model, you have smallholder farmers on the one end, and then you got the market on the other side. Those are the two problems you're solving, but there's also the finance aspect of it. How does that work? How do you bring that together?
Cool. So how we bring that together, initially as a company, when we started as an AgriCool Finance, we had assumed that the major challenge in the agri-value chain was access to finance, and we've created like a crowdfunding platform where anyone could source or pull in the funds to help these smallholder farmers. We say maybe a farmer needs 10,000 Rand, we're going to source 1,000 Rand from 10 people. And from that, after, say, maybe you want to plant your potatoes, after selling the potatoes to the market, you get your money back, and say maybe the interest was 18%, which means each investor will get 1,000 Rand and an extra 130 Rand as a profit. So, and eventually we realized that the main issue was not really with access to finance, because you find a lot of these farmers are able to buy your seedlings and chemicals, fertilizers to start farming. But the biggest challenge was that they were not able to sell the produce to the markets, even if they were able to do so, but they were not able to sell at a premium price. And there were a lot of people involved in that transaction, a lot of middlemen in between. So they end up losing a lot of money, which also drives food prices to be very high. So we thought maybe if we link these farmers directly with an access to market, it helps solve a lot of problems. Not only does it helps the farmer to make more profits or helps the buyer to buy cheaper, it also helps mitigate the inflation of food prices.
Okay. Now, when you started as a crowdfunding company, at what point did you realize that actually the main problem is the market?
I think that's a very interesting question, because when we started to finance these farmers, we realized that initially we would say, come with an application, go find market yourself, and we're going to help you with finance. And farmers would go to these different stores and say, okay, cool, I've got a letter of intent. They're going to buy these produces at this price. And when it comes to that point where they need to sell, they'll also struggle. We find that maybe that letter was not legit, or you find that the buyers have changed their mind. They bought from another farmer, so you've got a stock that is there. So bringing in the aspect of access to market was more of de-risking the lending to make sure, okay, there's also another risk, which is a lack of access to market. How about we also facilitate that and open more market access opportunities and handle the finance and have the access to market as a way of de-risking the lending?
That's amazing. Now, so right now you're providing two main services to your farmers. That is, you're still doing the funding, I believe, of the farmers, and
Yes,
then
correct.
you are providing the market. That's the main business model at the moment.
Yes, correct. And I mean, and again, you see, this is more like onion, always peel and have some discoveries. And again, the issue of access to markets, should always be a why. Because initially we said, why do these farmers struggle with access to finance? And there are a lot of reasons. And also we said, why are they struggling with access to markets? It's because of poor quality, usually. That's mostly the case. You find that they're producing, but the quality is not as good or as per the retail standards. So it also pushes us again to even go more into saying, okay, we're not only solving the access to market and access to finance, we're also providing access to information, where we help these farmers with access to information on how they can farm continuously. So now we are partnering with your nurseries to say, okay, cool. In Pietermaritzburg, we're partnering with a nursery that is going to supply seedlings of good quality at affordable prices. And also we speak to your agrochemical companies, because ideally when they will sell your chemicals in 3-liter bottles. And you find that a smallholder farmer who's only farming a hectare, they need 1/3 of that, which is like a liter. So it means it's not really feasible for them to buy a 3-liter and use 1/3 of that, and only going to use the remaining 2-liter after 2 seasons or after a season, you see. So we realized that, no, we need to speak to these agrochemical companies to start manufacturing, so that whatever that they're manufacturing will help these smallholder farmers, or maybe it's ideal for them, because it's not really making any economical sense to buy chemicals with 3,000 rand to find that kind of use 1,000 rand to buy the exact amount that you're going to need. So you've got a lot of partners with these fertilizer companies, there's nurseries coming into place and say, okay, cool, this is an emerging market. If we can get a number of smallholder farmers and we're wanting to buy seedlings, if they buy in bulks, we can give them discount. We can also start to manufacture in ways that the container really making sense for a smallholder farmer to start buying. So in as much as we're talking about access to market, but when you liaise with the buyers, they will tell you that, trust me, we are into helping these small farmers, but the issues are around food safety, the issues are around traceabilities, the issues are around your quality. So we're trying to solve all these problems. It's the problem after another.
Sounds like it's actually a lot of things that you're working on to try and develop that business. I was actually thinking about that to say, the market obviously requires good quality products, and how equipped are the smallholder farmers to supply that. And I hear you are actually partnering with other players to support farmers to be able to produce good quality products. Now, How is that working in terms of your team? Do you have technicians that go and support these farmers, or you're relying entirely on your partners?
Now, currently, we are a startup. We are bootstrapping with very minimal resources and funding. So, for us to be able to support these farmers with access to information and advices, it's mainly through our partners. They would say if your farmers buy our seedlings from us, if they encounter any challenges at the farm, we are more than happy to use our own transport, our own fuel, our own resources to go there straight to the farm to 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 help them and see what's the problem and see what you can do or what you can advise. So obviously, as the time goes by, the company, we're looking to bring in your well-experienced agronomist within the team, because we're a team of 4. It's a very a small team for a highly intensive startup where there's a lot of challenges that we're trying to solve concurrently. So to answer your question, we rely mainly on our partners.
Awesome. Sounds good. At the moment, how many farmers are you working with?
Yeah, at the moment in our database, we've got over 200 farmers around in KZN, around Pietermaritzburg and surrounding areas. And also we have worked with roughly 70 smallholder farmers so far, but you've got plenty on our database. We're also trying to expand our market and try to also raise funding so we're able to help more farmers with access to market and also access to finance.
So for the farmers now, do they apply to join, or you go and approach them and say, hey, we would like you to partner with us?
So how it works, the farming market or it's the farming sector, it's very traditional. In as much as we would go out on social media and say we're looking for farmers with green paper for tomatoes, they would send us pictures and say, I've got tomatoes, I'm in Greytown, I've got tomatoes, I'm in Durban, and Pietermaritzburg. So from there, we then plan a visit where we go and do the vetting and visit these farmers to check if what they're saying is true, to check if everything at the farm is done accordingly.
Okay. Now, in terms of the production from the farmer's side, when you look at it from the time you started working with the farmers, did you see any improvement in yield? And if there was, what was driving that?
Yes, we have seen a huge improvement on yield. I think, like I've said, because smallholder farmers usually don't have sufficient budget to farm, they will say, you know what, maybe if I need 10 bags of fertilizers, what I'm going to do, I'll only do 8 because I'm short in funds. So we're trying to help these farmers and educate them. No, you need to spend as much as you can. And as much as you still need to try that your inputs are as minimal, but try and don't compromise on your production, because you want to have good yield as well. It's not only about having the quantity, it's also about the quality, because that's what gives you the premium price. So because now we also try to incentivize them. Say if they buy from our partners, give them like a spraying program, or a program that they need to follow, and say, if you follow this program and you let us know each and every week you start spraying, if you applying fertilizers, so that makes you our priority. If we have to come, maybe you are short of something or of peppers, you planted peppers, you'll be the first one that you're going to procure from. So because of trying to have these incentives, now we start to push these farmers to do the right thing and to do it the right way. So then they start to improve on quality, and obviously to see high growth and the quantity that they're producing. You find that the number of tons that they're producing has started to increase.
Awesome. I like that. Now, let's look at your company. What inspired you to actually go into this type of a business?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I've been a smallholder farmer myself, and here we are solving the problems that I have experienced at hand. So what inspired me was that I've been a smallholder farmer myself, and I felt badly because I didn't have access to markets. I tried to get finance from these traditional financial institutions and no luck. And so that's what inspired me to say, you know what, I need to quit farming since I've got experience in the technical background of farming. And I've always been a startup guy. I've always been fond of working in startups and starting a startup. So I said, I'm just here solving these challenges in the agri value chain. And I think we need to see a lot of people as well starting to solve these challenges, because biggest challenge we're having is Africa is that Africa's population is set to grow by 1.9 billion by 2050. So we need to try and help these smallholder farmers to transition to commercial production so we could meet consumers' needs. So we need more people to start getting involved. I mean, in the agri-value chain, we've got transportation, we've got storage. There's so much that is happening. So we need to spread ourselves and concentrate on solving particular problems just to make sure that the agri-value chain, it becomes flawless. And that's how we're going to make agriculture cool and have a lot of youth starting to get involved.
Yeah, making agriculture cool. Now, the name of the company, AgriKool, where does that come from?
Well, you just said it yourself. I mean, we want to make agriculture cool and fashionable so we can get more youth involved in farming. Because if you look at the stats, they're very distasteful, because you find that the farming community, the average age of the farming community is like 62 years old. So it shows that there is no sustainability in what you're doing. I mean, farming or agriculture as a sector, it's a very sustainable sector. So, but then we look at the numbers, they're very stressing, because it means we don't really have youth in farming. So how do we go about making that? It's just to get more technology, make it more cool and make it fascinating so we can get a lot of people wanting to get in and be part of this.
That's awesome. So now, are you, in terms of your target farmers, are you targeting the youth, or you're targeting everybody who actually is passionate about farming?
Well, we are targeting the youth in particular. Like I've said, we are all about sustainability. We want to see youth starting farming and doing well in the agribusiness space. But unfortunately, like I've said, we don't have a lot of youth in farming. Like we have, but not like enough. So we started to see a lot of, especially during the pandemic, we started to see a lot of people doing farming. But now we need more. I'd say in our database, I'd say roughly 30% of our farmers are youth and 70 are people over the age of 35, but we just want to at least swap the numbers and have it other way around. So, but I mean, for now, because we're trying to solve the issue of food security and time is against us, we just have old people and the youth. It's a mixture of both.
Awesome. Let's talk about that. You know, farming in South Africa is a topical issue, the issue of land. And what do you think is the biggest reason why the youth are not into farming?
Well, I'd say it's mainly, there are a lot of reasons behind that, and one of them is the lack of resources. And like your land, you've got a lot of these youth graduates who studied agriculture and they're wanting to start, but they don't have access to land and they don't have access to finance. And another one would also be, you find those ones who even have retire from work, but then the issue is, as soon as they get into farming, they start farming using the little money that they have and struggle to sell their produce. So there are a lot of challenges that are there in the agri-value chain. And I think when there are a lot of startups and a lot of organizations to collaborate, because as they say, that collaboration is a new innovation, to get into place and say, how do you solve these problems? We can get more youth involved. So, I mean, the issue of land, it's a very sensitive topic, but I think we need to speak about that more often than not.
Now, for someone who wants to get into farming now, they're young, they want to get into farming, and they have those challenges, what would you say could be the way for them to get into that business?
Yeah, awesome. That's a very good question. In my opinion, I think in as much as I believe that we people, Black people in South Africa, need to have an access to markets because we believe in inclusion. But I think we need to in a way start to collaborate with these people who are already farming, old people and the people of color, white farmers as well. I mean, I would also appeal to them as well to I don't really think we need to do this in a manner at which the land was taken from our forefathers. Because now we in a democratic era, and most of us are very educated, and so I don't really think it's a good idea to fight these people. It should come from them and say, okay, look here, people. I've got, like, you see, we've had a lot of issues with um, people in the farms fighting with white people, white farmers rather, killing each other. It's been crazy. So, but I think if maybe these white farmers can start to say, "Hey, come here, the community. How can I help you guys? If I've got 100 hectares, how about we share and see how we can live together?" Because I mean, in as much as they also playing a good role as well in food security, we also as Black people playing a very imperative role with the farming. So if maybe they can start splitting the land, so some of these Black emerging farmers can start to have resources as well. So I think that's how we can go approach. Even if it's a white farmer, if I were a white farmer, I'll go to my people and say, try and gather youth in that particular community and say, guys, I'm willing to give you 10 hectares of land. I've got the market. Then I can help you farm and I can link you with my market. So I think that's maybe how we can go about doing it. So for people looking to venture into agriculture, I always say farming is a skill more than anything. I'm sorry to say this, and I might be wrong. I stand to be corrected, but I don't really think we need to go to universities and get master's degrees to start farming, not unless our passion lies in research. And I'm not trying to discredit people who are doing PhDs, masters in research, because they're playing a very big role as well in trying to make sure that we keep up with the good work, improving yield, coming up with new farming techniques. But I mean, if you want to become a farmer, like a typical farmer, it's more of a skill. So it's more of you going to a laboring farmer and say, here, look here, because your skill, your degrees are not going to count. I've got a background in agricultural engineering, and it really contributed very little from what I studied at universities. But for the guys who went to college, like your Sidara, those ones, it's very relevant for. But for guys who go to tertiaries and higher education, it contributes very little. So if you can just swallow your pride, go to your neighboring farmers and say, you know what, I just want to start farming, and you just can do it. It's more of a skill than anything, and you can do better through practice.
I love that you're also talking about collaboration. And I spoke to one entrepreneur who said, if you want to start your business, never go it alone. It's just so difficult. Work with others for you to succeed. Okay, now I wanted to go back. You said you did agricultural engineering. And most young people, including myself, when we finish our studies, the first thing that comes to mind is, hey, I want to do compile my CV and get a job and get a salary. How was the transition like for you? Finish your degree, and did you just start your business immediately, or did you start working?
Okay, cool. So for me, I think the reason why I've chosen agricultural engineering, initially I started as to do electrical engineering, and I didn't like it, and I changed to agricultural engineering. And the biggest reason why I made the transition was because I thought in agricultural engineering there were more opportunities in terms of starting a business. So self-employment opportunities more than the other engineerings, to argue. So for me, I thought, no, if I go to agriculture engineering, I'll stand more chances. At that time, I didn't really have an idea. It was mostly owning like a farm, trying to manage us, you have like machinery at the farm, make sure everything's automated. That's what I like about agriculture engineering. So it's not really AgriCool. It's not like when I chose agriculture engineering, I always knew that I was going to do AgriCool. So as soon as I started to do agriculture engineering, I also did some modules and systems where we're looking at systems, your transport. You also look at engineering design, but one of the ones which I found very fascinating was food engineering, where look at designing systems like, say, maybe converting your tomato to tomato paste, make from your corn to your cornflakes. So that's where I find it very interesting. I mean, and also one of the also challenge that we also trying to solve, which is the big challenge in the agri-value chain. It's even bigger than the one of access to market, which is your post-harvest losses, because a lot of food that is farmed goes to waste. So I find it very fascinating on how engineers try to design those systems to make sure they improve the shelf life of produce. So as soon as when I was at varsity doing my final year and starting to love startups, reading a lot about agriculture, app development. So and also I was running a small scale farm on the other side, failing as a farmer. I said, no, cool. How about try to use technology to solve some of the problems that I was facing at the farm? So for me, I didn't really. I think I'd say I always knew I wasn't going to go to the corporate because I've always loved startups, and also it might have been difficult for me to find a job in a startup with an agriculture engineering background, so I had to start my own. So the transition was very easy for me because I always knew that I wanted to start my own business after. And even when I was doing my final year design project, I was starting AgriKool at that time.
Very interesting journey. You knew what you really wanted to do. You finished your degree and you went right into your business. Now, when did you launch AgriKool as a business?
Yeah, we started in 2018, but then I'd say I started working 2019.
And so far, when you look at the journey as an entrepreneur, are you happy with the performance of your business, and is it performing to your expectations?
Cool. Good question. Well, I think I'd say, I think it would depend when you ask it, because, sometimes the entrepreneurial journey is very erratic. If you ask me today how it goes, I'd say, because I'm happy, and I said, yeah, it's going well. And the following day when you ask me, it's tough. I don't think I want to confess. But I mean, in general or in overall, I'd say when we started, we had a huge traction from the investment side. And initially, when we started, we were only supplying the informal market because there was no bureaucracy there. It was just open market. So when the pandemic came, the informal traders, they were not allowed to trade, and we had tons of produce that we couldn't sell. And eventually we started to discard that. We lost like over R1 million as a company, which was very tough for us. And now we said, okay, cool, we've got the produce. What do we do now? The market was flooded because remember, even your exports, they were prohibited as well. So your commercial farmers, when they take to your municipal market, they'll beat you on the quantity and they'll beat you on the quality. And at that time, it was crazy. Everyone was confused. And we started to pivot to your retailers, hence partnered with Boxer. We're very fortunate with the Save, your Farm Fresh, and we're still talks with your Food Sports as well to see if we can have any collaboration. So, yeah, so I'd say we've grown tremendously. I'm very excited in as much as we've had a huge loss, but our pivoting seems to taking us to the right direction. Because these two markets, your formal market and the informal market, they complement each other. Because during the mid-month, you find that it's not really busy in the informal markets, but your retailers on the 15th, they're doing very well. So you always have like stability in your income, in your revenues. So I'd say we've faced a lot of challenges, but we've grown tremendously. I'm very happy and I'm very proud of my team, especially while working on the ground to make everything happen. They work very hard and so passionate about what you're doing. And I'm thankful to everyone who've been part of what you're doing. So it's been very tough, but I'm happy that we are here today. More often than not, there came times where I think we are failing. We don't have enough money. We are becoming bankrupt. And the following day, we do the orders. Because, one of the challenges as well is that you work with small-scale farmers. You have to pay them on the same day. But when you deliver to the retailers, they're only going to pay you after 30 days, after 20 days, after 7 days. So with your cash flow, it's always tough. You don't have enough money. You're still trying to recover from the pandemic. But overall, I'm happy and I think we've achieved a lot. And we're starting to build a very big brand. I'm very proud of my team.
That's great. Listening to you, I can hear the role your team is playing to overcome some of the challenges you're facing and build a successful brand. So, some people actually say the beginning is actually tougher. So, like you said, the journey of entrepreneurs is quite different and erratic. You can't predict it. But I wanted to hear more about COVID-19 pandemic. As an entrepreneur yourself, what is the biggest lesson that you learned?
Well, the biggest lesson that I've learned, before I can talk about as an entrepreneur, I just talk about myself was that nothing is guaranteed. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming. No one saw it coming. So I say nothing is guaranteed. But the biggest lesson I've learned as an entrepreneur is that you need to hold on. I think for us, we were badly affected by the pandemic, but we persisted and said we want to stick no matter how difficult it is. And also, as an entrepreneur, what I've learned is that you need to have a high pain threshold. That's what my idol Elon Musk would say, because more often than not, things will go wrong, and you need to embrace that pain, embrace that failure, and stick to it. So what I've learned was that you have to stick to your vision, irrespective of how tough things can be. When we're starting to recover from the pandemic, there was a point in time where I was selling cabbages as a hawker myself because things were very tough. We had no market.
Wow.
So, and again, now we move from that. Now we supplying these hawkers, we do bulk volumes and supplying boxes. But there were times where I was selling one cabbage on the street, trying to rebuild the market and speaking to these hawkers, say, I've got the cabbages. Everything was down. No one believed that we could still recover. Everyone was skeptical. So the market was very low. So I think it's all about resilience. It's all about resilience. So that's what I've learned. And as much as we've got too many challenges, but I doubt we'll ever face challenges as big as the pandemic. And because we, in a way, some sort of like went through that, I think the future is only bright.
Well, amazing learning there. Entrepreneurs need to have resilience and high pain threshold. That is profound. Now, when you're going through all these challenges, was there a time when you felt like giving up?
Yeah, I think, in fact, I'd be very honest. I mean, I'm one of those people who don't really. I like to give the people the real taste of entrepreneurship. I don't like to glamorize it. When people see us and are doing pitch winning competitions, sharing these posters, it looks as if everything is just flawless and frictionless, which is not really the case. We go through a lot as entrepreneurs. I remember during the pandemic when it came, when we couldn't trade, when we realized that we were running out of money, we got debts owing people. I went home back in rural area in Ladysmith. And I was there. I had to be there for when the government announced lockdown. I'm not sure was it the 28th of March or the 29th. I can't remember the exact date. I went home for April, May, first week of June. I was there. But then I had my mentor, Eric, who said, you know what, the only way you would make things better is to come back and try and rebuild this and make it happen. That's how you're going to pay your debt. But if you stay there, feel sorry for yourself, it's not going to work out. And he sends me money, he sent me e-wallet, and I took that e-wallet and I spoke to my landlord and say, I know I was hiding in a deep dark corner, I'm back now, I know I owe you money. I've got no money, but the only way I'll be able to pay rent is please allow me to stay there and give me payment holiday. And I was very fortunate, she was very understanding. She said, no, it's cool, it's fine, I understand you're running a business. Just try and make it happen, you can pay me whenever. And I came back, I started to sell cabbages on the streets again, being approached by buyers from Boxer wanting to buy from us and getting saved, getting farm fresh, rebuilding the informal markets, and eventually we started to come back. Yeah, these are the stories that most entrepreneurs wouldn't want to talk about, but about giving up, I think I have failed. I mean, one thing I always say, when I write a book, one day I will say 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs fail, and I was no exception. So I think people need to know more about that side to see how failure, because I was depressed, and for the very first time in my life, I ever felt like it was over, like I'm owing R1 million. Maybe it's better I commit suicide, because I never thought I would ever be able to have any comeback. So I think I also need to forgive myself for that, because it was the very first time I ever felt so. It was very distasteful. It was a bad experience as well. I was depressed. I was down. I was absent in social media. I switched off my phone for the longest period of time, because I had no clue. So it does happen, and I did fail, but our startup did fail. But in a way, it resurrected, and it's here back again.
Well, like you said, these are the stories that sometimes entrepreneurs don't share. And listening to you now, it's amazing that you're saying you're back up. It's because you understood that you needed to pursue something that you loved, and that's really amazing. You spoke about your mentor phoned you and say, "Hey, you need to come back." What is the role of a mentor in general, but your mentor as well in your life? Is it something that you'd recommend for entrepreneurs or anybody in general, that you need to have a mentor in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely recommend. I mean, I remember when I started entrepreneurship, I was very arrogant. I always thought maybe I can always learn things by myself. I didn't need someone to account to. What really I meant is just a waste of time. You see, I always had that mentality, a very bad mentality, and I know some of the fellow entrepreneurs, they've got that. But I think it's very important, because the reason why you need a mentor becomes like your some sort of like a co-founder, someone who shares the journey with you. So as someone who's on the forefront, I feel more pain. The reason why I was depressed was because the challenge that I faced was way beyond my pain threshold. But if you've got a mentor, someone, when you're going through tough times, they can reason beyond the scope. They'll not catch the feelings. And as much as they'll feel pity for you, they'll see right through you, and they'll see what's the best for you. So I think not just only entrepreneurs, I think people in general, I mean, you need to get mentors. I mean, they're not really there to come and tell you what to do, but it's to advise you and say, hey, look, it wasn't more like him detecting me and saying, hey, you know what, come back to Pietermaritzburg and do it again. It was more like, you know what, I think you need to some way disengage your emotions, your feelings with the company. I mean, irrespective of how bad you feel about what happened, but keep the company moving, keep the brand moving. That's what he always told me. Every day, keep posting. Let people see it. So irrespective of how you feel. I mean, I remember this other day, it wasn't on a similar day, he said, he runs a company called NMC. He said, you know what, I always post about my company, but you think I always feel good every day? That's when I realized that I need to promote the brand, irrespective of how I feel on that particular day. So the mentors are just there to give advices, to guide you, to show you the way, to lead you.
Wow, that's powerful. By the way, you are doing great in terms of promoting your brand. Following on LinkedIn, I see everything that you're doing. So you're doing really great, and you can see that. Now, your team, you have a co-founder or co-founders. What role is your team playing, and also how did you actually select a co-founder? Talking to a number of entrepreneurs, getting the best co-founders is one of the biggest challenges. I'm not sure if you agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I concur. You see, what's happening is that for me, when I started with the company, I had a co-founder who was a CFO in the company. And eventually, when we faced all these challenges, I started alone, then I was joined by a co-founder. My guy left the company because things were very tough. And I even say myself, I understand what he was going through, and probably I would have done the same, because even myself, I don't think I would have stuck around. I only stayed because I was there. I'm the one who started. I mean, it became more like a CMS twin. So it's something I couldn't really run away from it. So, but I really wanted to run away from AgriKool at that time. So talking about my team, I love them. I think they are very they're phenomenal, and they make things happen. For me, as a CEO, it's just to come and waffle and talk just like I'm talking to you. It's just to go and speak to buyers. I think that's an easy way. You've got the guys, they just arrived now. I'm sure you might have had a knock coming in now. They just arrived now, and they left early in the morning around 5. The guys who do deliveries, they work very hard. They're very hectic. And I've also got Siwa, who's also a co-founder. She's here at AgriKool. She recently joined us. And what's very interesting about Siwa is that she came in as someone who was going to work as an admin. And from there, I saw a huge value in what she was offering. And I said, no, I mean, she's putting so much sweat in what you're doing. So she probably some involvement as well to be part of the company more than just being an employee. And she's been very instrumental. And even when things go bad, she will feel the pain. And talking about Mtogo and Funda as well, the guys who are on the ground, who speak with the farmers, who check the quality, who deliver to Boxer, who do the hard work. I call them the engines of the company as well. I mean, there were times when we came back from the COVID, for months, they were not getting paid, and they never complained. All they said, as long as you give us shelter and food, we are all in. So you see, some people, they think a co-founder has to be someone who's there as a CFO, as a CTO, as a CEO. Those are my guys who've got, maybe in terms of education, they don't have as good as you would expect, but they are here as co-founders. They've worked, when the company had to resurrect, they were here, they were fighting so hard to make it happen, and they saw the company, they're passionate about it. So hence they're owning some shares of the company. So I think when you spoke about co-founder, when I'll tell you to say, come and meet my co-founder, you're probably going to think of a guy who's wearing suits. My co-founders, my best co-founders, they're wearing overalls.
It's really good to know that you've got great people, and I think most businesses succeed through the brilliance of their teams, and the fact that you have teams that you believe in. That's really amazing. Now, let's talk about from the time you started until now. What would you say these are the biggest achievements that you have achieved so far?
So I'd say the biggest achievement would be that on our platform, we have raised, in as much as we had some issues and had to cut down on the investment or raising funds, but we raised over 2 million rand onto our platform, and we have financed 70 smallholder farmers, and we're very happy about that because it's all about impact. And these farmers, because of this funding, they've been able to create over 300 short-term employment opportunities. If we could raise more, we create more employment opportunities. But most importantly, one of our biggest achievements is also the partners. We got your Boxer, your Save, your Farm Fresh, and also, like we talked with Food Sport as well. We want to have more retail partners to partner with. So we're very happy that we've achieved them, and we've got them onto the community, or we've got like a startup corporate partnership, and they're very supportive. See, so that is why when I get a chance to speak, I always tell our people that are listening to go buy from our partners, because they're not only supporting Boxer, they're not supporting Save, they're not supporting Farm Fresh, but they are supporting the smallholder farmer, because these guys, they've opened gate for these smallholder farmers to supply them. So also another one would also be the team. I think with the team that I've built, I think I haven't really been able to achieve a lot as a company. One of my responsibility is to raise funding, and I haven't been doing well when it comes to that for the company, but we're doing fine now. But one of the things that I'm proud of is the team that I've built. And also the informal markets. It's a very disorganized, complicated markets, but we've created some relationships. We are trying to organize these informal markets. We have these hawkers, these mamas on the street ordering via WhatsApp and get the produce delivered to them. And what I like about it is that it's a real African problem. So we are providing African solutions to African problems. I'm very proud of what you've done, and I see some huge potential. If you could scale to Durban, you can imagine. If I can just make an example, when I speak to investors, I always tell them, when you go to the CBD of Pietermaritzburg, Durban, Johannesburg, how many people there do you see eating bananas or selling bananas on the street? Imagine if we can have these smallholder farmers banana planting, and we can have a ripening facility and have these farmers supplying banana all in these African markets. So we can have a very inclusive system. We having money circulated in our ecosystem, because one of the biggest challenges we have as Black people is that we take money outside our community faster than we earn it. So if we try to develop these informal markets, if we don't try to solve that, we're not going to solve our economic challenges. So by having the informal markets, I mean, I'm very proud that you've been able to organize that market as well. And I think that is one of our biggest achievements, and also retail partners as well.
Impressive. I like that, developing the communities where you are from. So let's talk about your investors. So if I want to invest in AgriKool, what do I do and how do I get my benefit out? I know you said it's 18%. You gave an example that it's a percentage, there's an interest on the money that I put in, but how do I do that? And how will I be confident that the money I'm putting into AgriKool, I will get it after a certain period, and how does that work?
Okay, so basically how it works is that we're still busy developing the technology. We are just trying to make the process of investing seamless, where you go onto an app, see the opportunity. So one of the biggest, like I've said, we're still a startup and starting to learn. But how we're trying to regain the confidence of investors, we are trying to get one of the biggest gaps in the agri space is with the insurance. We smallholder farmers don't have access to insurance. Usually your high value crops, you would almost never find any insurance for tomatoes, for peppers. So what we're trying to do now to make sure that the investment is safe, at least you guaranteed your principal amount, is to get markets with your grain crops, because your Santam and many other insurers are very willing to insure your grain crops, which means if something happens, if maybe you've got hail, you can always go back to Santam to make claims, which means once you make that claim, and we can repay investors their money back if things go wrong. So I always get that question, how do we safeguard around your hail? But always access to market is something you can always get, because that's what we're also about. That's the problem we're trying to solve. But what about the things that are outside our control, like your natural disasters? So we try to ensure that. Hence, it also cut down. We've had some challenges with some of the projects where we had some delays because there was pandemic. We couldn't sell. We had hail. So what we're trying to do now, we're trying to pivot into investment that have got grain crops like your beans, your maize. We've also done maize before, and got it insured with Santam. So we're trying to pivot into those ones to make sure that it's a very safe investment. But I have to say this, we've done a lot of mistakes before, and we're learning, but we're doing better now.
Awesome. Well, that's lovely. Now, as we wrap up the conversation, in terms of looking forward, where would you like to see AgriKool? I believe right now you are based in Pietermaritzburg. Where would you like to grow further?
Firstly, it's just to go across the continent, because there's a huge potential. The market of fruits and vegetable, or fresh fruit produce rather, is enormous. So, I mean, you've still got, especially with this, you would see, I've just recently read an article where they were saying the market is worth over 19 billion rands, and also you've got people traveling from all these neighboring countries to go to Johannesburg market to buy fruits and vegetables. So you see, it also means now there are big opportunities for us to start to do your exports, where we export these fruits and vegetables. That's why we are about developing these smallholder farmers, so they produce quality, so they are compliant with all the regulations that are there around exporting. So in the next 3 years, I see ourselves tapping into export markets to our neighboring countries, because they are selling, we can do fruits, do vegetables, and in the next 5 years, I also want us to do selling fruits, your citrus fruits to China and and to Europe and many other countries. So that's why we want to develop these farmers so they produce quality. So at least if they aim for exports, even if they're not getting the rights, because you should aim high. So when you fall, at least you can still sell local. Because now currently what they're doing, they just down there trying to produce. So if they can aim high to do export, if something goes wrong, they can sell locally. But if they get those rights, we can always export.
Awesome. I really wish you the best there as you grow your business in South Africa and further outside of South Africa into the rest of the continent. Now, for someone out there listening who would like to be an entrepreneur such as yourself, maybe it's someone who has got a full-time job working in the corporate space, or someone who is completing their degree at college and they have a big dream to start their own business, but they see several challenges that stand in the way as obstacles. What is the one advice you can give to someone like that?
I'd say the best way to start entrepreneurship is to start it out of naivety. Because, it's out of naivety. Like, just do it. Because the more you see, most people who haven't started are the ones who overthink things. I mean, more often than not, things would not work out. 90% of the times, things would not go accordingly. That's always the case with it. The advice I'd give to them, start off naivety. Just do it. Just know if you want to do from point A to point B, try, turn a blind eye, maybe one eye, and try to execute so you reach point B and solve these problems as you go along. Because overthinking, in startups, we call it lean startup. It's lean. It's a lean method. Don't try and do those complicated business plan, a lot of this planning that will never work out. Just do it. Have the resources and try to follow things around and just do it. That's how I started AgriKool. I've never written a single business plan. And I just did it. I started out of naivety. And obviously, I made a lot of mistakes and I lost a lot of money, millions of friends. But I say there was a school fees that I paid. And hopefully, just like you, when you finish your degree and get work, you first get the money back that you spent at university. Hopefully, one day will pay off.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really powerful advice. And thank you for that. There's also just one question that I like to ask the entrepreneurs, my guests that I speak to here. It is that what is the one thing that they love about their country? Ask this question because I would like our listeners in South Africa, in Africa, and around the world to experience some of the nice things about your country from your perspective. So, what is the one thing that you love about South Africa?
Okay, cool. That's a very nice question. I'd say I love how we connect around memes, like the jokes. You find that there's something on Facebook that's trending, everyone is laughing about it. I think for me, I'd say I don't think other countries they've got that. We're just so connected. I mean, each and then, like every week, you see even the song that is trending, Oban Laba Bantu with that G65. So everyone makes a joke. We're just a very playful nation. I love that about South Africa. And I like, we've got a great sense of humor as well. So for me, I think that's what I love about South Africa and how we connect on social media and about jokes, sharing and all sort of things. For me, that does it for me. I think that's very unique. I'm not sure, but I don't think other countries have got that.
Yeah. I love those jokes as well. Sometimes you actually stay on Twitter trying to, follow.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine what happened with the Jerusalem dance and just went globally. And I really love that. I think it unites people.
Absolutely. We are very united and love each other.
Awesome. Indeed, South Africa is a lovely country, lovely people, always finding ways to connect in a more humorous way. Great. So as we end the conversation now, any final words from your side?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd say, we need more entrepreneurs. I mean, we are just from the pandemic. We have not even recovered, but things are much better. So I'd say we need more entrepreneurs, especially in the tech space. We need women as well to play parts. I mean, I've got at the office, she's a woman. I've seen how she's been instrumental as well. I think we need more women to start being tech entrepreneurs to solve. We need more entrepreneurs to create employment opportunities. And if you create employment opportunities to people, you're making a huge difference in the country. Trust me, not politicians who are going to solve our crisis, entrepreneurs. The job of politicians is to make the environment conducive for entrepreneurs to sprout. So it's only us who would solve our problems. So I would advise people to be entrepreneurs. I mean, if you can, stay out of university, go start a business. But also, again, it also helps to go to gather some experience from the corporates and understand how things are done and come do things. But don't get swallowed by the corporates. Come back strong with that knowledge, start a business, have impact and change people's life for better.
Wow, that is powerful and the right point to end it. And thank you so much, Zamokuhle, for coming over to speak to me.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, man.
And that was Zamokuhle Thwala, the co-founder and CEO of AgriKool. Thank you for listening and watch out for our next episode.